Silas Soule was an abolitionist, a conductor for the Underground Railroad, a Kansas Jayhawk, and a captain in the 1st Colorado Cavalry, a volunteer division of the U.S. Army. He was born on July 26, 1838 in the city of Bath, Maine, in a family of abolitionists. When he was 16 years old, his family joined the New England Immigrant Aid Company, a group whose goal was to settle in the new Kansas Territory and to make it a free state. When his family moved to Kansas in 1854 and settled in the town of Coal Creek, Silas became a conductor of the Underground Railroad when he was 17 years old and helped runaway slaves escape from Missouri up north. At the age of 20, Silas was part of the Immortal 10, a group of militant abolitionists who broke into a jail holding Dr. John Doy and rescued him after he was arrested for helping 13 slaves escape as they were running to Iowa during the summer of 1859. A few months later, in November of 1859, Soule was part of another group that tried to spring out John Brown after he was arrested for his failed raid on Harper's Ferry, but he refused, saying that he wanted to die as a martyr for the abolitionist cause. Soule managed to get himself locked up in the same jail as John Brown for public drunkenness, and somehow got a guard to let him have some private time with Mr. Brown, who still refused his offer of helping him escape. Soule moved out to Colorado in 1860 to mine for gold and later found work as a blacksmith. When the Civil War began a year later, he joined the Colorado 1st Infantry in 1862 until his unit was sent to New Mexico and fought in the Battle of Glorieta Pass. The fall of 1864, he was reassigned to the 1st Colorado Cavalry with the rank of captain. This division was led by Colonel John Chivington, a Methodist minister with high ambitions of becoming a politician. He also fought at the Battle of Glorieta Pass and received high praise from his superiors for his actions in the battle. On November 28, 1864, the 1st Colorado Cavalry, along with the 3rd Colorado Cavalry, met at Fort Lyon to prepare for an attack on Chief Black Kettle's encampment at Sand Creek. Silas Soule, along with Lieutenants Joseph Kramer and James Connor, refused to go along with his plan. Soule knew that Black Kettle and his people were friendly and peaceful. He met with them a few months earlier at the Camp Weld Conference. Silas told his men, "Any man who would take part in murders, knowing the circumstances as we did, was a low-lived, cowardly son of a bitch." With over 700 soldiers at his disposal, Chivington attacked the camp in the early morning of November 29th. Despite raising the American flag that Black Kettle was given by the commander of Fort Lyon to show the U.S. Army that they were friendly, along with the white flag of surrender, Captain Soule ordered his men not to fire their rifles nor participate in the horrific massacre. After the attack, Chivington telegraphed his superiors to tell them about the great victory they won over several hundred warriors, and threw Soule under the bus by saying he thanked God he killed no Indians, and like expressions, proving himself more in sympathy with the Indians than the whites. The main reason behind the Sand Creek Massacre was that the territorial governor of Colorado, John Evans, was tired of dealing with Black Kettle and used Chivington's men to dispose of them right before the terms of enlistment expired. Soule later reported the massacre to Edward Wynkoop, a colonel in the Colorado Cavalry, along with reports of eyewitnesses flooding in, along with testimony from the survivors of the attack. This gave him just cause to investigate John Chivington. Chivington himself accused Soule of being a coward for not participating in the Sand Creek Massacre and called him a disgrace to the uniform. A few months later, the U.S. Congress investigated the incident, and Silas Soule was one of the major witnesses. He said about his participation in the attack, "Before I got into the creek, there were troops upon both sides firing across. It was unsafe for me to take my command up the creek," and that he did refuse to fight in the attack. Weeks after testifying at the U.S. congressional hearings, Soule got married on April 1st, 1865 to Teresa Copley. Sadly, he was murdered on April 23rd, 1865, while on duty as a provost marshal in the city of Denver. Soule went to investigate the reports of a gun being fired. When he arrived at the scene, he was engaged in a gunfight with Charles Squire, The two shot each other, but Soule's wound was a fatal one, and he died on the scene. He was only 26 years old.